I'm Mike Messier, and welcome to this episode of Messier Mantra. On this episode, we have a very special guest. Her name is Abigail Lucas. Abigail.
Hello.
Now, you are an actor, and you're also doing some producing and writing of a film piece that we're going to see a little clip of today. Mm-hmm. And the name of the piece is Choice.
Yep.
Is that right? So, why don't you tell me a little bit about that piece first?
Okay. Yeah. So, the majority of my experience was through the actor's perspective. So I'd be reading a lot of scripts and showing up on film sets, and just started learning a lot about how to potentially put a film together. And from the actor, so much of it is about the story. And so I had all these stories sort of bubbling up to the surface. And I went to this one workshop, and really all I remember, or what I remember most about that workshop, was the speaker said, in this day and age, you really got to make the opportunities for yourself.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? I agree. So I went home, and literally in 24 hours, I had a short little script written, and it was kind of the beginning of this production called Choice. And yeah, so it's in the editing phases right now. But
that's great. I like that story so far. And just to catch the audience into the piece a little bit, let's show a clip of Choice. This is like a rough cut, and so we're going to take a look at it right now.
Okay.
Come on, you know how that go.
Well, what about your folks?
They just think I was irresponsible or something.
Jesus, Sarah. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Make a choice, I guess.
Make a choice? Sarah, we go out drinking all night. You're with this 25-year-old musician stoner and you freaking chain smoke. You can't seriously be considering this, right?
Well, why not? Why not consider it? I mean, I'm 30, and look at Amy. Maybe I should just go for it.
Go for what, Sarah? Single momhood? Come on, I'm the actor and you're the writer, remember?
Yeah, I remember. Jess, I think I need to be alone. Can I call you later?
Sarah, I'm here if you need me.
Welcome back to Messier Mantra. We just saw a clip from Choice, which was written and produced and starring our guest, Abigail Lucas. Back to Abigail.
Thank you.
I like the piece, and I like the fact that you're in it, and also a friend of Messier Mantra. I believe her name is Kaylee Khaleesi.
Yes.
That's right there. So Kaylee was a guest on our show about a year ago, and she's doing some great things. Where did you two ladies meet?
Yeah, so I met Kaylee at the studio that we were studying. In fact, I'm still studying there, but it's in Boston. It's called the Michael Chekhov Actor Studio Boston. There's both Meisner and Chekhov technique. And we just overlapped in a lot of the classes, and I loved Kaylee's energy. And when I was writing this, I just she popped in my head as that person in the film. So in she went.
Nice. So you two are playing friends, and then there's your character has this 25-year-old drummer boyfriend, and Kaylee's character is kind of counseling.
Yeah, so it's about, I feel like our society as a whole really puts a lot of weight on the choices we make.
Yep.
And not necessarily the process that we go through to get there.
Okay.
And for me, that's really what I think is important. It's how do we get to the choices we make? That's where we grow, that's where we learn, that's where we struggle, that's where we regret often. And so I just used the choice of, a woman being pregnant.
Right.
And, that's a very heavy choice in life, whether to continue or not continue with her path, however that would look.
Yeah.
But what I really wanted to bring light to is the process she went to get to the choice. The choice isn't important. In fact, you don't even see that in the film. Okay. It's all about her getting there. So she has different pieces coming in, different friends' perspectives, her own perspective on, who the potential father is, how her life is, and Kaylee sort of represents one of those perspectives in Sarah's process to get to that choice.
That's just a hot topic, and basically talking about abortion rights or right to choose or pro-life, pro-choice, and all that fun stuff, which is not so fun because it's it divides people, and so I bet when this movie is done and when you release it, whether it's online or in festivals, it will be a topic
Mm-hmm.
will come, you know, if you start doing Q&As and stuff like that. Like, have you thought about that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny you asked because I was always an actor.
Yeah.
So I never really thought about, you know, producing something. And I had support from the director. His name's Norman. He was great. I mean, he really helped push me too. And, you know, he's helped really get me to understand that, yes, I can submit this to festivals and it will have an impact, and what will that look like? And when I was revising the script over and over again, he kept asking me, like, what's the message you're trying to get across here? You know, how are people going to experience this? So I do look forward to submitting it to the festivals when it's finished.
And the director's name just says Norman, what's his last name?
You know, it's kind of slipping my mind
That's
right
all
now.
right, maybe we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
I just want to give Norman, you know, a big
I
thumbs
do
up for
too.
helping you out with that piece. And so I remember, it's at the Michael Chekhov Studio, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I remember when Kaylee was here, she was telling me, wow, this is like, I was like surprised and shocked and happy that someone in the Boston, New England area had like this intensive school.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like what's your, like just the schedule alone is pretty impressive.
So it's the sort of studio where, like, I feel like people who want regular, consistent acting go to.
Right.
You can take as many as 5 classes a week. And there's a variety of sort of genres, the Meisner or the Chekhov. And it's work, you know? You put in your work, you train hard, and you get really good at acting.
Right.
It really pushes your limits. Scott Fielding is the teacher, and he has so much experience behind him, and he just, you know, it's the kind of place where you come out with sort of a really good understanding of the craft of acting. You come out with a lot of different tools you can use in order to get into different kind of characters. It's really been an amazing experience for me. I continue to go to class there all the time.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So go ahead.
No, that was it, kind of it.
One thing that, like, you know, people, you know, because I do act myself, and sometimes people who have an interest, or they don't want to act themselves all the time, but sometimes they just are fascinated by the process, you know, on the outside looking in. So one thing that usually comes up is, how do you memorize all those lines? You know, especially for stage acting, where you see these stage actors, whether it's Broadway or theater in Attleboro or community theater in Seekonk or anywhere. How do people memorize all these lines? Do you have a technique that you use?
Not really.
Okay.
I guess I would say not really, because I don't go in it with the perspective of I'm memorizing lines.
Okay.
I go in it with the perspective of I'm learning a character and I'm learning a story.
Yep.
So I guess I would say I read it many, many, many times, not really with the intention of memorizing the lines.
Okay.
Or making any decisions at all.
Right.
Really just with the intention of incorporating the essence of that piece into myself.
Nice.
And into my imagination.
Yes.
And I find that the more I understand the essence of the piece, the more I just know what to say.
Okay, that's great.
So, I mean, there are always those pieces in, you know, a theater piece or a film piece where I'm like, I just don't remember this line. It's not coming.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because I don't quite understand why I'm saying that line, you know, and when I really gain an understanding of why I'm saying it, then I remember it.
Nice.
Yeah, and then, you know, I learn through movement.
Right.
So another way that I often read is not when I'm sitting, I'll read while I'm walking.
Okay.
That kind of works for me. And I think everyone's different.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that when I have trouble learning lines, to be honest with you, and like, so I do it, but it takes me a long time, and like, even I work with a local theater company, and it's kind of comedy type of shows.
Yeah.
But even on the night of the shows, you know, I'll have like a piece of paper, and I put like time into it, like,
Right.
you know, here's my cues.
You write it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like a little break the fourth wall, but last time I did this show, went to Staples, and I had like my cheat sheet, and like I had like 5 copies made, because I'm like, if I lose this one, I want it back up in my glove compartment and my bag and my wallet. And like, I really kind of get anxious about it almost, you know. And So it's just one of those things that I experience. So I'm always looking to ask people, what do you do? You know, and I kind of like your answer, which is like, I incorporate this character into my system of being and energy, and then I take it from there.
Yeah, I find sometimes I do write out lines.
Yes.
And when I do that, and one of the things actually I learned from Scott Fielding is I don't use punctuation.
Okay.
Because I really don't want to memorize, like I just don't really want to memorize anything.
Right.
Like what I love about acting is that it's like the only place I just get to be totally in the moment and completely spontaneous and just completely instinctual. And so I actually don't want to necessarily memorize.
Yeah.
So sometimes I do write out lines, and when I do, I remove question marks, I remove exclamation points, because I don't know how they're going to come out. I don't want to predetermine that.
Right.
But yes, I am sometimes a writer.
Yeah.
I learned through, the movement.
Whatever works. I mean, there was like a book, you're probably familiar with it too, Audition by Michael Shurtleff, and the foreword of this acting book, Audition by Michael Shurtleff, is by Jack Nicholson, and he basically has this whole one-page deal. He's talking about Shurtleff and all that stuff, and then at the end of it, Nichols says, people talk about the method, and Nicholson says, the method is whatever works.
Yeah.
And then like, bam, it's like, that makes sense to me and to other people, I think, because like, whether it's writing out without punctuation or whatever you're doing, you're doing, I'm doing, whatever. If it works, do it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the tools that I've learned, sometimes they work, sometimes I have to try something different. It's never static, as you're saying. It's always kind of a discovery process. And I agree, some things that I thought I wouldn't use, they're working in the moment, so there it goes.
Wow. And before you studied at the Chekhov, it's called the Michael Chekhov School in Boston?
The Michael Chekhov Actors Studio, Boston.
Great.
Yeah.
Before you were taking classes there and learning so much there, was there anywhere else that you took some classes or workshops?
Well, life, I guess. But no, as a child, dress up was my favorite of all favorite activities. So that's probably where I learned most of the improvisation.
Okay.
And the imagination was just Mary Poppins style, dress up crazy, me by myself in an attic, locked away.
Wow.
With
Sorry to
dress
hear
up
that.
clothes.
Put Abigail in the attic.
She'll entertain herself for 10 hours, literally. But no, otherwise, life happened, and then I walked by an audition flyer for a piece called The Stronger, which is by August Sternberg, great piece. And I auditioned for it and got the part, and was back on a stage. Oh, I also did competitive dancing as a little child.
Yeah, I remember you had a dance background, yeah.
So I was used to being on stage, very, very young.
Right.
So I ended up back on a stage, and something just felt so good and so just right. And kind of ever since then, I've sort of been looking for more ways that I can get back to that feeling.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Because outside of the Messier Mantra, you and I had met in kind of an interesting night. It was like a workshop in Boston, and I remember driving up to this thing. I'm like, where am I? It was like a church basement, and I'm like, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was. I don't think you'd mind. Mike Gonzalez, I think his name was. A real cool guy, and kind of had this West Coast kind of thing, but also had just been from the West Coast, this guy Mike, and back to the East Coast, and intense, but a really smart guy. And he really pushed us in that workshop. And I remember, just to anecdote a little bit, you and your friend, what was her name?
Helen, maybe? Helen Hood?
Yeah, Helen Hood. You guys did this really intense kind of display of prowess, and you guys kind of took over the room. Oh. And this was a big room too. This is not like a little studio, black box theater. This is more like a church kind of basement with a stage on it, and you guys were doing. Tell me about that, if you remember. It was a pretty intense scene.
Which piece was that? I remember the piece I did where I almost fell off the chair.
Okay.
Were you there for that?
I don't know if I was there for
where
that
you
one.
had to incorporate someone that you saw on the street into your body. And
I think
I
was there.
Reaching
and I was impressed.
for something.
Yeah. It was like a homeless guy.
Yes.
Or something. Yeah. Wow.
Who even knows what that was?
Wow.
I very clearly remember being in that moment, nonverbal. I think there might have been drool. There might have been. I shouldn't have said that.
Right. No, it's good. I mean, you're all in.
But there was that was really, really. I loved that moment.
Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks, and it was just like an hour-and-a-half drive for me. But I remember meeting you in Helen Hood, and you guys were really powerful. And I was like, "This is great."
I met Helen at the same studio.
Oh, okay.
Michael Chekhov Actors Studio, Boston.
Nice.
Yeah. So when we have a little break, Helen and I were like, "Oh, let's go to this other studio and just keep up on our skills." So that's how we ended up there, and lucky enough to meet you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's what it's all about, because with talking with you here and having previous actors on this show, Jose Gonzalez comes to mind, a good friend of mine, but like, it's really about keeping busy and being open-minded and just doing things to progress your career. And sometimes some things are progressing more than others. You might go to a workshop and you might learn a ton of information, and then something else, maybe just a little bit. You know, and sometimes the price, whatever it costs, is marginal or it's big. But whatever it is, like someone like yourself really going for it and opening your mind to these challenges rather than sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, and like so many people, I'm sure you've met them too, are just content to sit on the couch, type in Facebook, why am I not getting roles? Why isn't this gig paying? You know, it's so annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm out there a lot.
Yeah.
I wish that I had more connections and knew more people.
Right.
So I think that's kind of where I am right now, is in a place of, okay, I have a lot of experience now. I have some really good footage, and I can certainly put stuff together. So now I'm kind of in the like, all right, I want to meet all the people out there who are who are also on this path with me.
Right.
So yeah.
How do you find the Boston market, so to speak, for acting and theater and film, like a independent film like you're producing yourself, Choice? What's your, evaluation of it? Is there improvements to make? Is it great the way it is? Is there, what do you think?
I think a lot of the postings or the scripts or the opportunities that I see do come out of the local universities.
Right.
I think the MFA programs offer great opportunities. Granted, I think it just depends on where you are as an actor.
Right.
I did, when I first started going in there, I did, just anything I could do at that point. But you end up progressing, and the MFA level, I think, is really good. Like, a lot of those students in those schools work really hard and know what they're doing, and they have access to phenomenal equipment.
Right. And Masters of Fine Arts, just for people.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay,
yeah.
Sure.
So like at Emerson or BU or Harvard. So I've done a variety of those pieces. They're generally about 30 minutes long.
Yep.
They're great. I find the scripts to be nice too.
Yes.
And then as far as features go, they come here and there.
Right.
Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to have a really solid role in a feature. I think that's what I'm really looking for next.
Right.
But at this point, I want to make sure it's the right feature.
Okay.
I want to make sure that it's with, the caliber that I want, with the people who have, the work ethic that I want, and, the script is really solid. Just because, as you know, like, it's a very huge time commitment, and I want to put that work in, but I want to make sure the end result's going to be really great also.
It's interesting. I was talking to an actor buddy of mine, again, not to plug him too much, but the same guy, Jose Gonzalez, and we're kind of like back and forth this conversation. And it's like some of these projects, either A, they're not worth doing in the first place because the script is shoddy or boring or self-indulgent or schlock, and B, if someone starts rolling the camera, it's great, but like, what happens when the cameras stop rolling and you haven't filmed the whole script?
Yeah.
And C, and like some of these things I've, been guilty of myself, so I'm not, just saying that, but sometimes the whole piece gets filmed and then no one edits it.
Right.
For years.
Yeah.
And like, you're kind of sitting around like, didn't we film this thing? And
that's frustrating as an actor, because I'm like, I need this work.
Right.
I think that was sort of my inspiration to do the film Choice.
Right.
And Norman Lang, who was directing it, actually, he really pushed me. When he read my script, he was like, this script is like, let's do it.
Right.
And he's done a lot of work in the Boston area, so I felt really lucky to be able to work with him. And I think part of the reason was I was like, this script really has something to say. I want this script, and as an actor, that's really important. It's got to be truthful. It's got to be, it's got to have some substance to it. I mean, I hope that I am able to do that through my film.
Yes.
But yeah, I also, as an actor, the script is that's my job, is to bring that to life.
Right.
In
this case, you wrote the script too.
Yeah.
So you have to honor, it gets interesting, almost existential. Like you, Abigail Lucas, as actor, has to honor Abigail Lucas as writer.
Yeah.
You've brought in the director, Norman Lang, so we got his name out there.
Yeah,
Norman Lang.
It's such a
You
Lang. It's
remembered.
such a great last name.
Yeah, you just kind of popped
where
it in.
is it going?
Yeah, so we got Norman Lang, right?
Yeah, he's great.
So we got his name in there, and now you're also producing. So as producer, you're like, okay, Abigail actress or actor, Abigail writer, and Norman director, like, and your scene partner Kaylee Khaleesi, like, get this thing together here, you know?
Yeah, the producing was, I have so much respect for people who put it all together. I mean, in reality, it's, when I look at it, and after having done it, it's almost like a little business in itself, you know? Like, you have your budget, you have your quote employees or personnel, which is everyone involved.
Right.
You know, you have, you know, your topic matter, you have your script, you know, you have all of your inventory, your props, your food, you know, you have your transport, like your locations.
Right.
It's really all encompassing. I mean, the amount of time that I spent just putting the pieces together was, you know, I mean, just amazing.
Isn't scheduling the toughest thing sometimes? Like even, you know, like a piece where you're financing yourself for a couple hundred, couple of thousand, whatever it is, to kind of bring these elements together, and even just to pay people, not pay, well, you know, maybe pay people for their gas and time and effort, and supply food, and you know, if you're paying for location or however that works, but then on top of that, you've got to get 4 or 5, 6 people scheduled to be in the same place at the same time, and you know, if there's more than one day shooting, repeat that process.
Right.
And if the snow or, you know.
Right, if the weather's not cooperating.
Right, right. And then like suddenly, oh, we had it, you know, we were going to do February 15th, and now we're trying to do February 17th, and and then people are like, I have a bat mitzvah that night.
Yeah,
like, what are you talking about? You're not even Jewish. You know, like you go into this whole big thing, you know. So.
I was lucky enough to be able to shoot in my brother's apartment.
Right.
It was perfect. So at least in that sense, he was flexible.
Okay.
He was great. We kind of just like invaded his apartment. He had no idea
right.
What was going to happen. But I don't know. It worked out. I planned the date probably about 3 months in advance.
Okay.
And there were only 2 other actors, myself, Kaylee Khaleesi, and Helen Hood. And then I worked it out with Norman Lang as to, you know, does that date work for him? And basically, it just fell into place.
Nice.
So I think for me, I just got really lucky.
Yes.
As far as the scheduling went, and the weather, it actually was raining, which was really nice. It ended up being, you know, it worked to my advantage. Sometimes it's really, you know, you definitely don't want it to rain and it's raining.
It had synchronicity in this piece, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's.
Yeah, it worked well.
Right, that's great. And once you get the piece finished, you know, a couple of months from now or a couple of weeks from now, where do you want to take it to the festival circuit? You want to put it online? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I've just, at this moment, kind of been compiling and researching a bunch of festivals like Woodhull and some festivals in Provincetown, and a variety of also festivals that bring to light issues that females go through.
Yes.
I'm not really particular either way, but it just happened to be that, and I didn't realize, you know, there was all these film festivals that highlight these sorts of issues. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll meet some like-minded people there. So yeah, I've been looking at some of those festivals, and I don't actually know. I don't know where I'm going to submit it. I think it might also, you know, deadlines will be a determining factor.
Of which every festival, just so people know, like have deadlines. If you're going to have a festival every August, then by every April, for instance, you need that. You need to have your selection of films to even look at for their judges. And people don't realize that some of these film festivals, Rhode Island International Film Festival, Scene Film Festival, Provincetown Film Festival, Woods Hole, like you said, they get a lot of submissions.
Yeah, they do.
It's not like they get 12 submissions and show 6 films.
They get hundreds, thousands, some,
Right.
I know there's the 3 in Boston. I think 2 of them have passed on the deadlines, so they might have to be. I might have to wait till next year. And they have multiple deadlines too. So if you get it in early, that's great. It's the lowest price.
Right.
But the more you wait, the more expensive it gets. And generally, they're between like $35 and $75. So also a big piece of that is considering that in your budget.
Right.
You know, how many festivals do you want to submit to? Because it can add up really fast, really quickly. Yeah,
because you've spent, I mean, whatever you spent to make the movie, and then next thing you know, like, I spent $600 on this really simple shoot.
Right.
Now I'm spending $1,600 to enter in like this film festivals. And unfortunately, people do ask, you know, sometimes like, oh, what do you, and this is the question I hear a lot from family or friends, what do you get if you win? And like,
That's not,
oh my God, like, you don't get a brand new car. It's not The Price is Right with Bob
Right.
Barker. You know, like like if you're lucky, you'll get, some type of award or, but you don't really get anything.
Right.
So, help me out here. Like, people don't understand. Like, people don't get it.
I know.
Why do we do this, Abigail?
Yeah, I don't know the golden answer to that. I don't know. It just feels, it's just what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I mean, granted, if I was, getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what I do, that'd be great.
Right.
But I also just do it because it feeds me.
Yes.
And I don't know, there's something exciting, I think, about submitting to a festival.
Right.
Whether or not you get any kind of award, but just the environment and the people and meeting, other like-minded people, and it's thrilling, it's just, it feels good. It feels right.
Yeah, the creative buzz.
Yeah, the creative, just everyone in the same kind of like-minded space of creativity and ideas and stories and getting these sorts of stories out to the world, and how can we do that? And after this film, there's like 5 stories going on back here.
Right.
I'm like,
That's nice.
I gotta get these out.
And you're calling, once again, Abigail Lucas, calling Abigail Lucas. Hey,
Yes.
write me a piece, star in my piece. We have about 2 minutes left. I did want to quickly say Film Freeway is a great platform to enter your films in, which I'm sure you...
I didn't know. I actually didn't know that. I heard of Without a Box.
Without a Box is getting antiquated. Film Freeway is the new way to go. But just so anyone watching our conversation, knows about Film Freeway. It's a very easy platform, and you upload your film online, and then they have some festivals that are even free, believe it or not.
Oh, great.
Yeah, especially for things like you said, women's issues.
Yeah.
We have about a minute and a half, and I'm going to kind of spring something on you. This is Messier Mantra, so every episode we ask a guest, do you have a mantra that you want to share? Like something that, even a theory or a sentence or two or an inspirational quote that you like that you have yourself or pick from?
I don't have something that someone else has written.
Okay.
I really feel like the mantra that I'm working with now is what I mentioned earlier. The piece of now is the time to make things happen for yourself. The opportunity's out there. You got to make the opportunity for yourself.
Yes.
That's the mantra that I'm living in every day.
That's awesome.
Is make the opportunity for myself.
That's the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
Like you learned, like you just shared with us, like don't wait for that.
Yeah, don't wait.
Right.
You got to make the opportunity for yourself.
Right.
And that's what's kind of been happening for me the past year. So I'm really excited.
That's awesome.
So
Abigail.
I thank you for letting me know. Now I'm like, okay, yes, that is kind of the mantra I'm living in.
That's
I appreciate
cool.
that.
Yeah, that's nice. Because that big red phone with the circular dial from,
Right.
that's from that movie, How I Learned to Live with the Bomb or whatever, Dr. Strangelove. Like that phone's not ringing for any of us. We got to make that phone call ourselves.
And we have access to such amazing people and amazing resources. So such as, yourself and Kaylee and Norman Lang and everyone, got to make the opportunities for ourselves now.
And Abigail Lucas.
Yeah.
So, thanks so much.
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Messier Mantra with our special guest, Abigail Lucas, film producer, actress, writer, actor. So we'll see you next time on Messier Mantra.